Good afternoon. I'll call this meeting of the House Finance and Policy Committee to order and note that a quorum is present. First, I'll see if Vice Chair Kozlowski's had a chance to review the minutes.
Yes, I review and approve the minutes. Move to approve the minutes.
Representative Kozlowski confidently and after thoroughly reviewing the minutes has moved them. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. We will now move on to our one bill for the day, which is our housing finance bill. And members, just lay the land today. We'll hear from Chair Igo and nonpartisan staff to walk through the bill and take testimony today on the bill. And then tomorrow we'll have member discussion and work through any amendments we have and pass the bill out of committee. First, I'll go to Co-Chair Igo. Would you like to move your bill?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will move House File 2445.
House File 2445 is before us. And Chair Igo, would you like to make any opening comments, or should we go to nonpartisan staff? Take it away.
Yep, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I'll make a few opening comments and we'll kick it off to nonpartisan staff here. So thank you, Chair and members, for the opportunity to present 2445 today. We have a good bill in front of us. So I just want to start with saying some thank you. Thank you to you, Chair Howard, to our committee members, to our partisan staff, to our nonpartisan staff. We really have ran a great committee this year, and we have a good bill to show for it. The bill in front of us tackles what we talked about in this community. We talked a lot about affordability and availability. This bill in front of us does that today. We talked about the need for diversity in housing. This bill does that in front of us today. And we talked about creating stability for families across Minnesota. This bill is going to do that today. And we did that because we ran a really good committee that focused on listening to each other and creating compromise. And that's something that we're all going to be really proud of. We have a bill to be proud of to show that. You know, I was thinking as I was preparing for some remarks for this that I think this is the only committee I've ever been a part of, and we may ever be a part of again, where we went through a whole session writing a budget bill without one roll call vote. And I think that's something to really show how this committee worked really well together, listening to each other, and we have a really good bill to show for it. But I'm going to kick it off to nonpartisan research to give us the walkthrough on it. But I just can't thank the committee members and staff enough for it, and look forward to sharing the bill with you all.
Thank you, Ms. Highmark.
All right. Mr. Chair and members, for the record, my name is Katrina Highmark. I'm with the House Fiscal Analysis Department, and I will be going through the Housing Finance and Policy spreadsheet. This is based on the DE2 amendment. You'll see that the timestamp on the spreadsheet, which is in your packets, is 11:22 p.m. From April 4th. So I will be going through the spreadsheet and highlighting some of the change items. We're going to start on page 1, line 1. There is a $10 million appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27 to the Housing Challenge Program. This is a one-time appropriation. The Greater Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Program also has a $10 million appropriation in the fiscal 26-27 biennium. That is one-time in nature. The Manufactured Home Park Community Redevelopment Program, the infrastructure grants part of that program will receive a $2 million one-time appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. The Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Development Program will receive a $3 million one-time appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. Moving to the next change item on your spreadsheet is line 11 for the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program, FHPAP. This program will receive a $30.6 million appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. Of this appropriation, $900,000 will continue to be ongoing in the fiscal 28 and 29 biennium. Jumping further on your spreadsheet to line 19, the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program will receive a $20 million one-time appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. The statewide tenant education and hotline service will receive a $500,000 appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. A task force on accessible housing will receive a $150,000 one-time appropriation in fiscal 26 and 27. And there is a $100,000 appropriation to the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency for policies to stabilize affordable housing. The final item that is a change on this first page of the spreadsheet is a $900,000 cancellation of a general fund transfer out to the housing support account. This cancellation begins in fiscal '25 with a $450,000 cancellation. This continues with a $900,000 cancellation in fiscal '26 and '27 and ongoing in fiscal '28 and '29. Lines 24 through line 46, on the next page, are programs that received one-time spending in the fiscal '24 and '25 biennium and are not receiving additional spending. So we can move to page 2. Looking at line 49, there is an authorization for $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds that has a fiscal impact of $7.6 million in fiscal '28 and '29. And this leaves the total Minnesota Housing Finance Agency general fund base, including the HIBS debt service, at $319.618 million in fiscal '26 and '27, or $257.567 million in fiscal '28 and '29. If you're interested in the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency general fund base numbers without the housing infrastructure bonds debt service, that's on line 47. The total base for the agency in fiscal '26 and '27 is $241.946 million, and in fiscal '28 and '29, $166.496 million. This spreadsheet is broken out so that you can see the total general fund target for for this committee is $75 million in fiscal '26 and '27, $7.6 million in fiscal '28 and '29. And I just want to highlight that this total new spending incorporates the cancellation that is in fiscal '25. And so that is why the total is slightly different on line 53 from what it is on line 51. If you're interested in the specifics about the change items are included in the totals on page 1. Lines 54 through 75 on page 2 break out exactly what those change items are in further detail. And then page 3 are the non-general fund changes. I want to highlight line 86 and 87. This housing support account is being repealed in this bill, and so the funds in that account will transfer into the general fund starting in fiscal '25 and then ongoing in fiscal '26 and '27 and fiscal '28 and '29. And those reflect those same cancellation numbers from page 1. And with that, Chair, I would turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Cope.
Thank you. Mr. Cope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Justin Cope, House Research. I'm going to walk through the bill. I'm going to skip the appropriations rider since that would be largely duplicative of Ms. Highmark's testimony. So I'm going to turn to page 8 of the DE2. Section 3 on line 13 transfers the money currently in the housing support account to the general fund for appropriation under the appropriation article. Section 4 on line 18 repeals the housing support account and the statutory transfer to that account. And then in Article 2, Section 1 on line 24, this authorizes the $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds that Ms. Highmark mentioned. And then on the following page, page 9, line 1, that section would authorize payment that would appropriate money to pay the debt service on those bonds. Turning to Article 3 on page 11, Section 1 of this article would require an annual report from MHFA to the legislature on the financial stability of the affordable housing industry, including data on the ratio of operating expenses to revenue in affordable housing and on the prevalence of late rental payments. Section 2, which starts on page 12, line 3, would require MHFA annually to convene a meeting with the Interagency Council to End Homelessness and with cities and counties with high levels of cost-burdened households for discussion of housing resources, housing needs, and opportunities for collaboration on certain housing issues. Section 3 on page 15 of this page would modify a 2023 appropriation for a grant to the Midwest Community Development Corporation for the community-based first-generation homebuyers down payment assistance program. This amendment would allow MMCDC to retain funds recaptured at the end of 3 years after they first received their grant and to continue using recaptured funds for the purposes of the down payment assistance program. Turning to section 4 on the following page, beginning on line 3, this section would modify the income limits applying to that down payment assistance program, replacing a household income limit with a home buyer income limit at 100% of statewide median income. It would also increase the maximum amount of assistance under the program from $32,000 to 10% of median home sales prices beginning in fiscal year 2027. And finally, the last section of this article, beginning on page 15, line 26, would establish an accessible housing task force to look at the experience of individuals who have disabilities related to finding housing designed to assist individuals with disabilities. And Mr. Chair, that concludes the walkthrough. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members on the walkthrough? If not, we can go to testimony. And up first, we'll have Commissioner Ho. Welcome to the committee, Commissioner.
Thank you, Co-Chair Howard and Co-Chair Igo, for the opportunity to testify this afternoon and for all the conversations and dialogue this session about how to advance affordable housing in Minnesota. Everyone in this room knows that we need more housing, and everyone in this room wants more housing. And I feel good about our work together within the current budget context to move us toward this shared goal. I appreciate the work of both co-chairs to receive an astounding budget target of $75 million and $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds. Given the budget constraints, I know that it took a lot of work in both of your caucuses to receive this budget target. I'm grateful for your support of the agency's base programs that create and preserve housing opportunities throughout the state. This will help thousands of renters, homeowners, developers, and owners across the state. Every program the agency operates is oversubscribed. We know the need is much greater than can be met by even the historic resources we invested in 2023. This program slated to receive more one-time resources in your bill will help the agency finance more homes and help more people stay in their homes. The $30.6 million increase in family homeless prevention will help around 8,500 more renters stay in their homes while helping those property owners pay their bills. The increases to the Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Program of $3 million and the Challenge Program of $10 million will help create new single-family and rental homes across the state. Greater Minnesota Workforce Development at a $10 million increase and Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Grants at a $20 million increase will bring dedicated resources to build new rental homes and infrastructure in Greater Minnesota. We know that the high cost of infrastructure is limiting the number of new homes being created in Greater Minnesota, and these resources will largely go to communities with a population less than 5,000 people. More resources in the Manufactured Home Community Infrastructure Program of $2 million will help more communities address critical health and safety needs of their residents. Last, but certainly not least, is the $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds. Housing infrastructure bonds are the state's largest source of capital for the development of housing. Since 2012, housing infrastructure resources have financed more than 9,600 homes with total development cost of nearly $1.9 billion. Because of the timing of our funding process, we would be able to allocate these resources within this calendar year. We appreciate this committee moving forward on the agency's policy and technical bill last week, and we look forward to working on a few policy provisions in this bill related to the Task Force on Accessible Housing and the recommendations from the Task Force on Long-Term Sustainability of Affordable Housing. I know there's plenty of work left to do this session, and this bill puts us on a great path to the finish line. As the conversations continue over the next month, my staff and I will be available to provide our support and technical assistance on bill language to help with implementation. In case you missed it, Thanks. This is a great bill.
Thank you, Commissioner, and we do look forward to working together in the remaining weeks here of session to pass a great housing bill this year. Next up on the list, we have Libby Murphy, Director of Policy with Minnesota Housing Partnership. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Sorry, Sterling. Chair Howard, Chair Igo, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I just want to say thank you to the chairs and the members of the committee for your efforts to secure the $75 million appropriation target and $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds. These are critically needed resources, and so thank you for all of your efforts. First, I want to say thank you for the $30 million investment in Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program. FHPAP keeps families stably housed. If they do experience homelessness, it makes sure that the duration is short. FHPAP is critically underfunded. It's often out the door within days upon its quarterly allocation. Minnesota Housing Finance Agency calculates that Minnesota needs roughly $350 million annually in emergency assistance. I believe this year that number will increase. We know that even from our federal government, we're told Americans are going to feel some pain in the coming weeks, months, and potentially this year. And so FHPAP that maybe would have helped a family with a car payment of around $1,000, that might increase, groceries. So just as you negotiate, I urge you to consider and to keep focused on that $30 million investment that you're making. I'll just also mention that one of our community action partners has calculated that it costs them roughly $45,000 to keep a family to get a family out of homelessness once they experience homelessness, while it costs roughly $3,500 to intervene and keep that family stably housed. We also support increased investments in the Challenge Fund, the Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Grant Program. In our community development technical assistance that we provide, we hear over and over again with those communities the need for infrastructure as being one of these things that can help reduce barriers to development in Greater Minnesota. We're also grateful for the funding to support the policies to stabilize affordable housing. And then just on housing infrastructure bonds, I want to say that this is such a critical tool. You've heard a lot about the housing shortage here in Minnesota. It's most acute for those families at 30% of area median income and below. And housing infrastructure bonds are really our only tool to target housing resources for those families. And so every investment in housing infrastructure bond goes a long way in making sure that we're addressing that, those families who are most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Greta Gates, Director of Government Affairs with Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard and Chair Igo. My name is Greta Gates, and I am the Director of Government Affairs at Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. Twin Cities Habitat is pleased that House File 2445 includes meaningful investments in the development of affordable homes. We are particularly thankful to see resources for the Challenge Program, a flexible source of gap funding that we at Habitat use to create and finance affordable homeownership. In addition to Challenge, we are grateful for increased investments in the Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Development Program, which is the only state program dedicated to producing new affordable homeownership units across the state. As you finalize investments for the next biennium, we urge you to consider prioritizing programs that expand access to affordable homeownership. The Homeownership Education, Counseling, and Training, or HECAP program, supports much-needed financial coaching, pre-purchase counseling, and homebuyer education that prepare homeowners for success. HECAP funds are critical to Habitat's mortgage foreclosure prevention program, allowing us to educate homeowners of their rights when it comes to preserving their home against foreclosure. And lastly, down payment assistance for first-generation homebuyers ensures more families can purchase a home they can afford. Habitat has been proud to participate in this community-based approach to DPA, targeting homebuyers who do not have access to generational wealth and highlighting consumer choice in using the mortgage product best suited for them. We are eager to see this initiative continue. We are so grateful for the committee's attention to these programs and your leadership throughout this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Roxanne Young Kimball, President of the Minnesota Homeownership Center.
Chair Howard, Chair Igo, members of the committee. My name is Roxanne Young Kimball. I'm the president of the Minnesota Homeownership Center. We're a nonprofit intermediary that convenes stakeholders on policy and programming for affordable homeownership. Homeownership is a critical affordable housing strategy. 2021 Urban Institute brief framed the benefits. When compared to the rental market, homeownership costs decrease over time and are more stable. Homeownership builds family assets that can be leveraged for education, medical care, or economic emergencies. And when tragedy strikes, homeowners have more options to keep their housing or receive support to transition. We applaud the homeownership investments outlined in House File 2445 and your commitment to expand production and preservation of affordable homeownership units through investments in the Workforce Affordable Homeownership Development Program, the Manufactured Home Park Community Redevelopment Program, and the Economic Development and Housing Challenge Program. We understand that this is a difficult budget year. If you have the opportunity to include additional funding priorities, we encourage considering the Homeownership Education, Counseling, and Training Program. Investments in HECAT support a network of 31 nonprofit organizations in every corner of Minnesota who provide the homestretch homebuyer education curriculum, one-on-one advising to analyze the budget and credit of individual households, and foreclosure prevention counseling, which has a 95% success rate at supporting homeowner retention of housing assets and stability. Every Minnesotan should have access to make an informed choice about homeownership, and we're hopeful for an increase of $2 million a year in funding for this critical network of support for Minnesotans. And the First Generation Homebuyer Community Down Payment Assistance Program. This was developed in a statewide coalition with industry stakeholders and community members and delivered by trusted community-based organizations. The First Gen program has proven its success at bringing critical, meaningful support statewide to households prevented from accessing homeownership by housing systems. A hallmark of the Community Down Payment Program is its centering of homebuyer choice. As a statewide program that includes a 5-month reservation of funds, homebuyers can choose to live in the location they choose, have assurance that their down payment assistance will be there during their home search, and have the opportunity to choose the lender product that best fits their individual household needs. I thank Representatives Kozlowski and Agbaje for their leadership on these respective requests, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Victoria Clark West, Executive Director of North Country Cooperative Foundation. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Co-Chair Howard and Igo for the opportunity to testify this afternoon. My name is Victoria Clark West. I'm the Executive Director at North Country Cooperative Foundation. Our organization works to preserve and expand affordable home ownership through resident-owned manufactured home communities across Minnesota. Manufactured housing continues to be one of the most cost-effective forms of unsubsidized affordable housing in the state. It costs an average of $25,000 per unit to stabilize and preserve a home in a resident-owned community, a fraction of what it takes to develop new affordable rental or homeownership housing. The impact of this investment is deeply felt by the households we serve. Over 70% of the residents in our communities earn 50% of area median income, and a full 1/3 of households earn 30% AMI or below. These are Minnesotans who are at the greatest risk of displacement in a tightening housing market. That's why continued and expanded funding for both the Manufactured Home Community Redevelopment Program and acquisition assistance is so critical. These tools are our best defense against the rise of private equity takeovers of manufactured home communities, which I've testified before this committee in the past. They give residents the ability to compete when their communities go up for sale, something that would otherwise be out of reach. It's also important to note that MHCR funding is not limited to resident or cooperative purchases. Nearly half of the program's past appropriations have gone to private park owners to support important infrastructure improvements. I would also note that housing infrastructure bonds can be used to support the MHCR program, and we would certainly encourage that. This is a critical tool in making sure we can maintain and improve these communities across the state. Finally, we're very excited about the upcoming launch of a new loan program, which has been titled Prime Path from our partner organization, NeighborWorks Home Partners. This is a first of its kind manufactured home loan product in Minnesota and one of only a handful like it in the country. The legislature provided $10 million in seed capital for this program during the 2023 legislative session, and now we're in the critical implementation stage of this new product. To fully realize the program's potential and to make it accessible to low-income buyers, it's essential that we pair it with down payment assistance. Together, these investments, cooperative acquisition support, the manufactured home community redevelopment funding, and tools like the housing infrastructure bonds, and down payment assistance to complement this new manufactured home loan are a powerful and cost-effective strategy to preserve affordable housing that already exists and is working for Minnesotans. Thank you for your opportunity to testify this afternoon and for the inclusion of manufactured housing in this year's housing package. As the process continues, we look forward to working with the committee to identify funding to support these other priorities mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Eric Hauge, Executive Director with Homeline. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard and Igo. My name is Eric Hauge, Executive Director of Homeline. I previously testified in support of House File 1385, which appropriates an ongoing $2 million per biennium to support a statewide tenant education and hotline service. At this time, I want to give my heartfelt thanks to Representative Kozlowski, the co-chairs, and the members of this committee for including $500,000 of one-time funding in the housing omnibus package for this purpose. Homeline is a statewide tenant advocacy organization, and we operate a free and confidential legal hotline available to any renter in the state. If the legislature were to appropriate funding for this purpose, Homeline intends to apply, given our history and experience. And this is because, as I shared last month with this committee, the past several years have been the busiest in Homeline's history. We've averaged over 20,000 households advised per year from all 87 counties in the state on a range of topics, including repairs, evictions, deposits, notices to vacate, privacy, et cetera. Lagging impacts from the pandemic and harmful trends in the rental market continue to make it challenging to maintain a response time that our clients expect, especially for those experiencing housing crisis, such as an eviction, where time is essential. Increased resources are needed to respond to this demand, for which inclusion of this funding in the omnibus bill provides for in 2026. If Homeline were awarded these one-time funds, it would help accomplish a number of things in the next year: maintain our capacity to advise 20,000 plus households for free from every corner of the state, bring on temporary staff to reduce response time, ensuring clients receive timely legal advice, to prevent displacement, and to continue our tenant landlord education program to provide trainings for landlords, tenants, and the general public. The longer term issue here is that no local or county government provides us with the amount of resources we need to serve their community yet. However, our programs are heavily relied upon by renters and governments throughout the state. In the long term, we urge the committee to appropriate adequate permanent statewide funding for this purpose to ensure renters have access to legal counseling and education, just as their homeowner neighbors do. I want to thank the committee again for inclusion of this funding in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Drew Gobeze, Advocacy Director for Habitat for Humanity Minnesota. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Howard, Co-Chair Igo, and members of the committee. My name is Drew Gobeze, and I'm the Advocacy Director with Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota, the statewide support organization for the 24 habitats across the state. Thank you for the opportunity to share support of critical homeownership investments in House File 2245. We're committed to ensuring that all Minnesotans have the opportunity to experience the stability that homeownership provides for families and communities. With the critical shortage of affordable homeownership opportunities across the state, I want to share a deep appreciation and support for key programs that would increase production and affordable homeownership. The investments you've included in Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Development Program will support the creation of starter homes across our state, targeting local housing needs around the state and increasing affordable homeownership opportunities for low and moderate income households. We're extremely grateful for the inclusion of these funds as the program has a really small base but serves as the state's main pipeline for supporting homeownership supply. The continued investments in the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program is really critical to many of our cities where infrastructure is a common theme we hear when talking about the barriers to building more homes. And other programs like the Challenge Program have supported homeownership opportunities as well. As you continue on this process, we hope to see investments in first-generation down payment assistance, as that's proven to increase access to affordable homeownership in regions across the state. Thank you for your leadership in housing. We look forward to continuing to partner on our shared goal of a Minnesota where everyone has a safe and stable place to call home.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Chavez Russell, pastor of Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard and Chair Igo. Thank you for this opportunity, and committee members, I certainly appreciate this opportunity to come before you today to testify. As you heard, my name is Dr. B. Chavez Russell. I am the senior pastor at Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. And as pastor and spiritual leader, school leader, nonprofit leader, community advocate, and proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, one of the main issues that we all face on the ground is the need for affordable supportive housing for our families. Having safe and stable supportive home creates the foundation to a prosperous life that we all want to have and that we want to see for all Minnesota residents. So thank you. I really appreciate the hard work that you have put in to creating this housing omnibus bill. Knowing the budget limitation that you face, we appreciate the work this does to address the housing needs across our state. So heartfelt thank you. We are grateful for the main policy pieces from the task force on the long-term sustainability of affordable housing that were included. There are a couple that I want to highlight here today. The first is for Minnesota Housing to bring together local governments and funders to plan how to best utilize those current services. And with fewer state resources and even the fear of losing federal funding, it's really important that everyone works together to maximize these resources because we are all better when we work together. And we hope this can create more coordination and alignment around the local affordable housing aid resources in the metro, and that we get the most out of the interagency stabilization group. Secondly, we support the policy framework for targeted stabilization. Yes, we are in support of creating more affordable housing, of course, but understand the moment that we're in where it's really important to maintain the existing affordable homes and support the nonprofits that provide these essential services. We also like that this bill makes sure that state agencies work together. That's what we are all about in the community. How can we work better together, especially for housing that includes extra support services? So lastly, I want to say that I appreciate all that you are doing with the little money that you have in this bill, but it clearly shows that the need for a dedicated revenue source for housing. So I am in support of the Our Future Starts at Home constitutional amendment campaign that could bring dedicated revenue we need for all Minnesotans that are in need for affordable supportive housing. So thank you again for all the work that you do for Minnesotans.
Thank you. That's the last person on the list that we have signed up to testify, but is there any members of the public that wish to testify? Scanning, not seeing anybody. Members, that's the end of our public testimony, and our plan of action is to come back tomorrow to have a member discussion on the bill, as well as to work through any amendments that get filed. Before we break, I also want to thank Chair Igo for our work together this session and in partnership to come together on this bill, which is a very strong bill and is going to help create opportunities for home border to border across the state of Minnesota. And so look forward to more discussion and more thank yous tomorrow for all the folks on this committee and our staff that did amazing work to get us to this point. If I don't see anything else, we will, is there any? We'll go to Chair, anything further, Chair Igo, before we lay the bill over and get ready for tomorrow?
No, I think lay the bill over, we'll pick it back up tomorrow.
I think we can do it tomorrow. Yep. With that, we're going to lay over House File 2445, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're adjourned.